This title is narrated with virtual voice, computer-generated narration for audiobooks. The Reformed Pastor in Modern English, by Richard Baxter and Roger McReynolds. Introduction to this edition. Charles Spurgeon said, "Richard Baxter's The Reformed Pastor stirs my very soul whenever I read its glowing words. They are fiery thunderbolts that he hurls at the heads of idle shepherds and lazy ministers." I have read almost the entire book to those who are studying for the ministry in connection with this church, the Pastor's College. And I have often seen the tears flow from their eyes while listening to the burning language of that impassioned preacher and writer. Every time I have read a chapter in that book, I have felt that, the next Sunday, I could preach. I must preach, with greater earnestness after reading the solemn words of that mightiest of ministers, Richard Baxter. Richard Baxter was born in 1615 and died in 1691. He was an English Puritan in the Anglican Church. The Reformed pastor was the result of Mr. Baxter being asked to preach to pastors at a meeting for humiliation and earnest prayer on December 4, 1655. His message was prepared, but he was disabled from going thither. As a result, and at the request of divers of the brethren, he agreed to have his work published and read during that meeting. I was unable to locate any copy of the original work. Apparently, the only one available is a gently updated edition provided by William Brown in 1829. This is the one I used for this revised and updated for today's reader edition. I saw no reason to include Mr. Brown's preface. I do, however, sense a debt of gratitude to William Brown. Having personally updated another 17th century work, John Bunyan's The Fear of God, I think Mr. Brown has helped bring Mr. Baxter into the 19th century, thereby saving me hours of work. Mr. Baxter included a lengthy dedication. He wrote primarily to clergy of his own denomination. I have chosen to edit his dedication where it does not seem to apply to evangelical pastors, especially regarding his views on baptizing infants. Otherwise, this is an unabridged and fully updated edition of this classic work. Also, some of Mr. Baxter's comments may be better understood when we remember that 1. Pastors in his denomination were approved and paid by the state, and being a Christian to serve as a pastor was not always considered a necessity. 2. His denomination taught that when infants were baptized, they became members of the Church of God. 3. People with little religious interest had been baptized and had their children baptized. They attended church services infrequently, or not at all. Yet, as members of the Church of God, they were considered part of the pastor's parish, or community, and therefore part of his responsibility. 4. Many of the denominations he mentions have deteriorated so dramatically since he wrote this book that I felt naming them might lead to confusion. What were once evangelical churches are now devoid of any practical true gospel content. The informed and careful reader will note where I have adjusted some of his comments to accommodate the structure of most American evangelical churches, as well as where I felt not doing so might disrupt the flow and heart of his message. End of introduction. Mr. Baxter's dedication. To my brothers, my dearly beloved brothers, the faithful ministers of Christ, in Britain and Ireland. May the grace and peace of Jesus Christ be increased in you, my reverend brothers. The subject of this book concerns yourselves and the churches over which God has given you oversight. I had intended to join you in this meeting of humiliation and earnest prayer to God for the pardon of our neglects, to ask for His special assistance in our work as pastors, and for success in our work instructing and edifying the saints. I was asked to preach at this meeting, but my increased pain and weakness prevented me from being with you. My subject is most relevant to the occasion. False teachers and false sects have arisen among us, and our people are too inclined to listen to their suggestions. My reasons for writing to you, among others, include: First, this was intended to be a day of solemn humiliation, to which we have agreed, and for which we have prepared ourselves. How will we be humbled without a plain confession of our sin? Second, It was primarily about confessing our own.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.